We spoke to Professor Albright, head of the psychology department, about stress.
There are a number of different definitions of stress, and if any one could nail it, that person would be very famous. A couple of the more common ones is stress is really considered as the amount of change that you have to make within a given period of time. Perhaps that's the most famous.
What are symptoms of stress?
Symptoms range from those that are more physiological, upset stomach, GI problems, headaches, nervousness, to more cognitive problems, or I should say not problems, but symptoms such as the mind racing, anxiety, difficulty in concentrating, and sleep problems. It can result in anxiety problems. It can result or be a component of depression. It can really, wear away at you, both mentally and physically.
Where can you seek professional help for stress?
This is where Baruch College students have a tremendous advantage, because the psychological services here, our counseling center, is available to all students free of charge. They're very good at what they do. So if someone is feeling overwhelmed by stress, or for example, if they feel depressed, which in some studies show that 50% of college students experience depression to the point where it's interfering with their functioning. And that's a huge number. So we're talking not only depression, but anxiety disorders, perhaps eating disorders. So our counseling center is very, very well trained to help all students with these problems. We're very lucky. The counseling center will do an intake and determine what's the best path of action, who you'll be working with, and you go from there.
Is there anything you can do on your own to reduce stress?
Well, there are lots of things you can do. Probably some of the students you've talked to have already mentioned some of them. One of them is to first recognize that you are experiencing some stress, that you feel a little bit overwhelmed. So they suggest to plan ahead, to make sure that you're scheduling your time in a very productive way. Don't wait till the last minute to cram. You'll get overwhelmed and anxious, and the more anxious you're going into taking an exam, your performance will decline. So you engage in time management. In fact, right now, students, if they haven't already done so, should get a calendar out, start freeing up time, take blocks of time where they're going to study and then really do it. I mean, they don't be on the phone with friends or listen to music or so on. You got to get serious and do it. Possibly arrange different hours with the job or babysitting services or wherever you can to get free blocks of time. And then when you're studying, go ahead and take breaks. When you feel yourself getting, tired or a little bit overwhelmed, take a break. Some people find it very helpful to exercise during the breaks. And that doesn't have to necessarily be an aerobic activity. Even a brisk walk can be very, very helpful. Just get out, break away, exercise. That ameliorates the effects of stress very nicely. And one thing our Baruch College students are famous for is not getting enough sleep. So a reduction in sleep does compromise your ability to intake material, to perform well on exams. I mean, some of you guys can get away with 4 hours, 5 hours a night sleep, or even less, and you can pull it off. But a lot of people can't, so you have to sleep and be more refreshed, so the quality of your studying will be better. Also, to review your notes just before you go to sleep. Dream sleep acts as an excellent memory consolidation tool. So if you kind of you're lying there, the last thing you do is go over those notes in a very relaxed fashion, then drift off and go to sleep, just maximizing that consolidation of material into memory. Another thing you can do is prioritize your studying. In other words, what topics have to be absolutely known within a particular course, and hopefully you can get a little bit of help from the professor, asking them, how should you focus your studies, or how to prioritize. So it will help you all along. And speaking of the professor, take advantage of the professor. Go see him. Ask them questions if you don't understand something, if your notes are confusing. I mean, that's what they're there for. They have office hours. You can stay there after class and get there before class. Assert yourself. Go to the professor and ask for help. Sometimes he can refer you to an author's website to get extra practice. You got study guides from the publishing companies you take advantage of. Some students find it helpful to work in groups. So they have to be serious study groups. So if you're there, talking and socializing and networking within your group and you're not studying, that's an ineffective study group. So you got to be really serious about that. What else? Can't think of anything else right now, other than the fact that when you're in the exam and you find yourself, like say, going over a question that you don't know the answer to, just skip it and go on. Because sometimes what happens is, as you go through the rest of the exam, it's going to cue in a memory of that earlier question, and you'll be able to go back to it. So don't get upset if you don't know the answer. Keep going, be relaxed, then come back to it, and hopefully you'll have an intuitive feeling, if not the answer itself, for the question.